Hello everyone, how are we all? I'm hoping that everyone who has signed up has made it onto the call today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Meg Berryman, being coach and mindfulness mentor, working at beyondbeingwell.com. So you've signed up for this webinar because you're feeling a little bit tired, and I've got to be honest with you, even though I work as a wellbeing coach and I left working full-time in my career a couple of years ago, I'm actually beginning to feel a little bit tired myself this week. There's been some things going on, haven't been sleeping great, maybe because of the supermoon, I don't know, but I've been kind of just feeling a little bit depleted. So I'm so glad that I'm getting to talk to you today about this topic, because it's something that I'm really passionate about sharing. Fatigue is the number one reason why the clients I work with and people that come to my workshops aren't able to achieve what they really want in life. It's like the one obstacle that stands in their way. And I'm just really wanting to share some simple tools with you. I know that when it comes to this stuff, we feel really overwhelmed because we read so much advice and there's so much information out there. And I just really want to cut through all of that and break it down to what's going to work for you. I'm really aiming in this webinar today to empower you so that you know what next steps you can take to start to banish your fatigue. And I'm going to talk a lot about energy and how we can learn to work with our own energy so that we can not feel depleted, so that we can feel filled up, so that we can give, so that we can be joyful. And particularly this time of year when, you know, it's starting to wind down towards the holidays and everyone's got like what I call crazy eyes, like everyone's just beginning to look a little bit edgy. It's really important to stay connected to you and your energy and really tune into what's depleting me and what's giving me energy at this point. So we're going to dive right into the training, and I really encourage all of you to stay right to the end during the Q&A, when I'm going to give away 2 absolutely free sessions with me where you'll be able to work through your fatigue elimination plan. I'm going to go through the steps in the webinar, but just getting some extra support, 60 minutes on the phone with me to really get clear on what's going to work for you. Absolutely game changing for those who are seriously considering getting some help with their fatigue, and who wouldn't, because it is something that can really hold us back. So let's dive right in. I'm going to share my screen. I meant to say feel free during the training to leave comments in the chat box, to ask questions as I go through. I probably won't answer them until the end, but I will keep an eye on it. So feel free to chat away if anything resonates with you, if you've got any questions, if you want to share your own insight. That's your space, so just go for it. And I hope you've all got your lunch or dinner or your chai or your water ready to go and you're ready to dive in. So here we go. Why so tired? I'm really going to talk about how to reignite the spark. Something that a lot of us feel is like there's this kind of inner spark that we have, or mojo, and it kind of goes missing in action when we're feeling tired and depleted, which for most of us is actually a lot of the time. So the question becomes how to ignite that spark in a way that really rings true with who we are. It's not about doing things that you read in blogs. It's not necessarily about doing things that work for other friends. It's about finding the tools and techniques which are really going to help you eliminate your fatigue and make you feel energized and bring you back to be connected with that spark that I know you all want to have. So this is what we're going to cover. I'm going to talk at the start a lot about how to actually interpret what your body is telling you. Like, fatigue is a very blanket term, and it's actually a feeling in our bodies and minds that we get, but it can mean a whole variety of different things. And what I want to share with you is a really simple framework that you can use when you're actually examining, why am I so tired? It enables us to, again, tune in with what our bodies are telling us, but it also brings this element of mindfulness to the choices that we're making in terms of what behaviours we're going to look toward. a lot of us, when we're tired, we think it's just about exercising more or dieting. And I'm going to go in the second part of this into why true well-being can't be found necessarily at the bottom of that green smoothie. Not that I'm anti-green smoothie, let me tell you, I love them. But I think, you know, a lot of the paradigm around wellness these days is that there is one thing or one simple fix that is going to make us feel better. And what we all intuitively know as intelligent people is that's not true. So I'm going to talk a lot about how to move beyond that framework of just fitness and diet, as important as those two things are. When it comes to fatigue, there's a whole lot of other stuff at play that we need to be aware of. And when we do become aware of that, it becomes obvious why we're feeling a little bit tired. I'm going to talk about the top energy leaks that I see in my clients, and I'm going to get you to identify what some of your energy leaks are. I'm going to talk about how to stop those energy leaks, because we can't just keep filling up a bucket that has holes in it, so to speak. It's not just about doing more things to fill up our energy, like exercise or like, you know, resting more. Those things are important, but we actually have to stop why we're feeling so depleted in the first place. What is causing all this energy to go away? And then I'm going to go through step by step how to create your own personalized fatigue elimination plan. I'm going to talk about some special holiday gifts for you that I've already mentioned. There's I won't go into it now, but you're going to want to stick around. So that's what we're going to cover today. And let's get straight into it, because I know some people are on their lunch break and there's no messing around. So who am I to be talking about all this stuff? Energy is something that I have struggled with my entire life. I, as a young woman, went through periods of immense sickness and often felt really, really drained and tired and fatigued. And my fatigue kind of manifested in a whole lot of different ways. And I think looking back now, I can identify that the real cause of my energy depletion for a lot of years was my anxiety, and specifically the anxiety that I wasn't good enough. And I talk about this a lot because I don't feel like we talk enough about, we have enough role models who are vulnerable enough to say that they've battled with anxiety and that that's the reason why physically they've struggled in their lives. So I tried to fill that anxiety with a whole lot of things throughout my life. First, I started with food. So I developed a very complex relationship with food quite young, tried to make myself feel good enough, you know, later on through partying, and alcohol. Then it was probably men and relationships that weren't necessarily too good for me. After that, I switched and I started, you know, filling my anxiety around fitness and really controlling my food, which, you know, as we all know, doesn't make you any happier or less anxious. In fact, it made me more so. I tried filling it with my career, so, you know, academic achievements as well as work. And at the end of the day, I really had tried so many things to fill that anxiety that I had to just stop running away from it and turn around and face it. And that was really aided by the fact that I, 2 years ago, when I was incredibly unwell with chronic fatigue and an autoimmune illness, I quit my high-profile job overseas and really started looking quite deeply at my life in terms of what I was doing, what I valued, what really lit me up, and how I was ever going to break this cycle of running, crashing, and burning. And fast forward to now, you know, when I've retrained as a yoga teacher, as a wellness coach, but specifically my passion is around helping women in particular banish fatigue and anxiety, and banish that inner critic that I know so many of us have through a combination of teaching mindfulness, using my qualifications in fitness and nutrition, but really what I'm passionate about is empowering women to find their own paths to well-being and happiness. And it's something that I just am so filled up by, something that enables me to fulfill my purpose, and it's something that gives me so much energy as well. So I really am here to facilitate your path, to give you the confidence to go after what you need, and to reinforce and give you permission to do that, because I think for so many women, we're not given the permission to look after ourselves and to really explore vulnerability in a safe way, I guess. As a side note, I'm obsessed with being outside. So this time of year is perfect for me in Australia because I get to do lots of that. I'm about to become a mum, which is a whole nother story. And I just love connecting with people. So I love teaching workshops. I love exploring what makes people tick. And I guess that's the one thing that's been consistent throughout my whole career. But why are you here? Because that's the more important thing. You might be feeling exhausted, just completely mentally and physically exhausted. You might be feeling anxiety, fear, guilt. You might kind of have that feeling that you're at the end of your tether. You're kind of like, there's just going to be one thing that's going to tip you over the edge, and then you're going to be a disaster. The straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. And I actually had that experience yesterday, which is why it's very raw for me when I'm talking about it. But that feeling when you're at the end of your tether is like a massive wake-up call to do something about the fatigue, because we shouldn't be in that constant state of overwhelm. We shouldn't be activating the fight or flight response so often that we feel like the smallest thing is going to push us over the edge. It's just not, even though a lot of us do feel like that a lot of the time, it's not normal, and we can't accept that. You might feel like you're kind of doing everything right, you're eating well and you're exercising, but there's something missing and you're not quite sure what it is. And I totally resonate with that. You might feel frazzled. You might have started identifying that, hey, like I'm not very nice to myself, and maybe that has something to do with my fatigue. Or of course you're feeling physical upsets as a direct consequence of or in relationship to your fatigue. So digestive upsets is really common, and or hormonal upsets as well. All of those things, I just want to say, are completely normal, and there's no guilt here, and it's all about being compassionate and accepting that. The first step, I guess, in our fatigue elimination plan is actually accept where we're at. We can't move forward until we've done that. But this is what you really want to feel. And these are the words that I hear from clients in, like, just, if I had $1 for every time I heard the word, I just want to feel energized, I would be a millionaire by now. And not doing webinars, I'd probably be on a beach somewhere. So energized, vital, healthy, purposeful is what I hear a lot. Like I feel like what's draining me is that I'm not fulfilling my purpose. And that's a really amazing insight. And something that I'm going to talk about a little bit later as well. Free, enlivened, calm, the sense of clarity. I think when we're feeling fatigued, it does feel a little bit muddled in our heads, and we're not really sure what's going to be best for us. Joyous and connected. And these are all feelings that you absolutely deserve to have in your life. These are feelings that you deserve to have regularly in your life. Accepting fatigue as the norm. And, you know, where we live in a society where we're talking constantly about how we're all so exhausted and busy, it's not okay. You know, we should be able to be energized consistently throughout the day, day after day. We should have periods, of course, of stress where we get depleted, but from those feelings, from those periods, we should be able to bounce back. And that's what I'm going to talk a lot about today, is balancing those periods with periods of rest, relaxation, and really working on giving ourselves the energy back that we might have taken out. So this is the first step in any fatigue elimination plan. If you've got pen and paper, you're welcome to take notes as we go through. So step 1, learn to understand what your body is telling you. I'm going to give you a really simple framework to understand where the fatigue might be coming from. And that is that humans are very similar to plants. We need certain fuels to be able to survive, and we need certain things to help our cells produce energy. At the end of the day, if we're talking about fatigue and tiredness, what we're really talking about is how to get more energy, more consistently. So the things that our body at a cellular level uses to produce energy are food, water, rest, sunlight, movement, and oxygen. And these are the things that I want you to start getting your head around when you're feeling fatigued, to tune into your body and ask, what exactly is my body needing right now? If I don't have the energy that I want, what is missing from this equation right now? If your body is sending signals of fatigue, it is either A, because one of these fuels is needed or is insufficient. So it could be as simple as drinking a glass of water or getting outside or moving your body, and that can just enliven the cells. Or B, because for some reason there's an interruption in how the body is producing energy at the cellular level. And that's when we get into vitamin deficiencies. And this is the stuff that you can definitely work with your naturopath or your integrative GP or your health practitioner around. If all of those fuels above that I mentioned, food, water, rest, sunlight, movement, oxygen, are being met, and you're still feeling fatigued and you've addressed your energy drains, maybe there's something else going on at a cellular level that your body is struggling to actually turn those fuels into energy in an efficient and consistent way. So your body sends you a signal of fatigue and you're sitting at work at your desk at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you don't know what it is. So you just start automatically reaching for things. And usually the first thing we reach for is sugar or caffeine or something to give us that immediate energy boost. But I wonder how different your life would be if you just stopped for a couple of breaths and tuned into what your body was really telling you. What if you just stopped and assessed, am I getting all of these things? Did I have enough rest last night? When did I last have a glass of water? God, I haven't been outside in 3 days. I haven't stretched my body and I'm really shallowly breathing right now, so I'm probably not getting enough oxygen. If you could tune into those things, you would be able to very simply, cheaply, and effectively start to make changes in your day, which would make a drastic difference in energy. These things aren't massive changes that we're talking about. They're small little habits that we can start to integrate over time that really work for us and our individual lifestyles. So I'm going to go through each of them specifically now. There is so much stuff around food written that I'm not going to go into it. It's something that other people have more expertise in. But all I'm interested in is making it simple. And most of us intuitively now know that eating vegetables and plants, as well as some lean protein, makes us feel more energized than eating processed foods. The question is not what we should eat, it's why we're not eating it. And usually the reason why we're not eating it the way we would like is because there are other energy drains going on in our lives that we're unconsciously reaching for foods which we think are going to give us energy, but which aren't. So when it comes to food, really simple things to remember, it's all about balance. So when we talk about energy production from food, we really need 2 things. We need macronutrients, which are proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, which food groups are broken down into. So proteins are meats, beans, seafood, things like that. Fats is, your good quality oils like avocado oil. Avocados are great in high quality fats, coconut oil, those types of things. And then carbohydrates, can be found in either grains or also in vegetables and fruit as well. And then we also need micronutrients, and micronutrients are really important in energy production. They assist our metabolic functioning in a whole variety of ways. So making sure that if we're feeling fatigued, we're getting a diet that's rich in micronutrients, as in rich in vitamins and minerals, can really help give our body the boost it needs to start generating energy a little bit more effectively. When there are deficiencies, it makes it very difficult for the cells to effectively do what they're naturally doing, which is to turn fuel into energy. So when it comes, without using the fancy words, what I'm saying is basically try and eat a wide variety of foods, lots of different colors, because lots of different colors mean lots of different vitamins and minerals. And then try and eat things that live on the same fuels as us. And they are plants and they are animals. And it makes it a hell of a lot easier for our bodies to digest things that feed on the same fuels as us, rather than things which were made in a factory. And we, again, intuitively know this, and I'm not here to lecture you on your diet. I'm here to give you a framework as to how to interpret your fatigue. If you're living on a diet that is rich in processed food, sugars and caffeine, think about starting to tweak the diet around the fire analogy, which is basically that we need to build, to get consistent energy through the day, a really long lasting fire. And to do that, we need logs, which is our carbohydrates and our fats, our good quality carbohydrates, so vegetables. And then we need, some paper as well, so a little bit of fuel. But we also need the kindling, which is kind of the protein. And we need those kind of denser foods, the proteins and the carbohydrates, to sustain the fire. If we're purely feeding the fire with fuel, paper, fire lighters, things like that, which is our sugar and our caffeine and our heavily processed foods, which give us a really quick energy burst, but which cause an energy slump afterwards, the fire isn't going to be sustainable and it's going to burn out pretty quickly. So if we're hungry every 2 hours, it's usually a signal that we need to bring some kind of denser foods into our diet, like proteins, which take longer to digest and which give us more sustained energy throughout the day. So think about the fire. And if you are feeling that fatigue in the afternoons, try and work on incorporating more healthy fats, proteins, and good quality carbohydrates as a balance, with a balance of colors, instead of focusing on just fueling a hotter but quicker fire, if that makes sense. Chronic dehydration, I'm telling you, is such a big cause of fatigue. And I really didn't appreciate this until I set up an app on my phone that actually made me track how much I was drinking. And as someone that was aware of how important water was, I thought I was drinking, roughly 2 liters a day, my 8 glasses. And then I started setting a reminder to drink a glass of water every hour. And I realized how little water I was actually drinking and how crap that was making me feel. And once I started consciously inviting more water into my cells, cells are made up of water and we're made up of water. So it makes sense that if we have more of it in our bodies, we're going to feel better. Not only that, but it aids digestion. It helps with inflammation. It helps flush toxins through the body. So there's really no downside to drinking water. If you do feel like you're drinking a whole lot and you're still not feeling hydrated, there might be something else going on. Again, talk to your practitioner about that. But, ensuring that you're regularly drinking throughout the day might be the smallest tweak ever to just give you a little bit more energy throughout the day. And a good idea is to set reminders on the phone that can remind you that, drinking isn't optional. It's absolutely necessary for effective cellular functioning and for our, sustained energy throughout the day. All of this stuff we intuitively know. And it's about tuning in to right now, what is my body telling me? Do I need a glass of water? Do I need to eat some protein and vegetables, which are going to make me feel great throughout the day? Do I need to rest more? And it's kind of like rest has become optional in our lives. And I certainly used to think it was optional. I used to think that I could keep going forever and ever and ever with very little sleep. And just one day, I would catch up on it. It was always like, tomorrow I'll get more sleep, or tomorrow I'll get more sleep. And I never actually did. And I actually think not only did that fuel the anxiety, but it really depletes you and makes you a far less effective human being, is the honest truth of it. I know that we all have pressures and we all prioritize productive work, and we all like to feel a sense of achievement. But at the end of the day, our bodies need time to rest and repair at a cellular level. And if we're not giving them that, and if we're constantly taking that away, it's no wonder that we're feeling a little bit tired. So advocating for, I advocate at least 8 hours a night, trying to get several hours before midnight. But I know that there are a lot of mums out there that have, little kids, and that's just not possible. So any rest where you're lying flat and taking the strain off the adrenal glands, which are involved in that fight or flight response, is fantastic. Anytime when you're not engaged actively with the mind, but you are trying to invite some rest into the body, that is what we're aiming for. And even 5 minutes of just deep breathing on your back, lying down somewhere in a quiet, dark place, for example, can help turn on that relaxation response and promote that restoration that we're looking for. So aim for the 8 hours, but if that's just physically not possible and you've removed all the possible things that are standing in the way and you still can't get it, just try and get rest where you can. Learning how to nap is just such a wonderful thing. I wish I could. I'm going to run a workshop on it, I swear, one day, about how to nap, but it's a really beautiful skill to have. It means that you can very quickly turn your mind from this fight or flight, rushing busyness into this relaxation mode, and your body will thank you 100 times over for it. Reducing screen time before bed, all the stuff that we already know, like looking at a screen before bed is turning on parts of the brain which are contrary to what we need to turn on when we're preparing for bed. I slept for a long time with an eye mask just to train my brain to sleep 8 hours, and also the learning how to nap thing. So we've covered this. If you're feeling tired, what's your body telling you? Number 1, have I eaten the right fuels? Number 2, do I need a glass of water? Number 3, did I sleep enough last night? And can I find 5 minutes to just lie down flat now, take the strain off the system, and just promote some relaxation into the body? Very briefly, we also do need sunlight. Vitamin D deficiency it's a really big problem in Australia and the US as well. Can cause really bad fatigue. Work with your practitioner to see whether vitamin D is an issue for you, but also just getting outside in nature from an energetic point of view can really invite better functioning and more energy. Looking at green has been shown to evoke the relaxation response and get us out of fight or flight. So finding 5 or 10 minutes, or even 15 if you can, to walk outside, to get some sunlight onto the skin, to really connect with nature is going to help you feel 100 times better than just staying at your desk or choosing to stay indoors, sitting down somewhere. Which brings me on to the last point around movement. So I talk about movement rather than exercise because I really feel like we've gotten so far away from moving in a way that makes us feel enlivened, and we've started using exercise as a way to beat ourselves up and thrash ourselves, and I just think it's creating more anxiety. Structured exercise is wonderful, but so is just moving. And when I talk about moving, I'm like stretching, walking, gardening. Things that really light you up are going to give you energy. Things that make you feel drained, take the energy away. So when we're talking about movement, think about the fact that our bodies, are made up of energy. Protons and electrons themselves, which are the building blocks of the proteins, which are our cells, are made up of energy. So it makes sense that if we're made up of energy, we have the ability to get more energy in, and we also have the ability to lose that energy. So moving our bodies is a way to invite those cells to move. It's a way of inviting on an energetic level the higher vibration of the existing energy in our body. And it's really about connecting with what you intuitively need to do. A lot of people say to me, because I'm a yoga teacher, can you give me some stretches? And I say, well, what does your body feel like it needs? Stretch that way. There's no need to do like a formal yoga class if you feel like you need to stretch. Find out where your body is asking to be stretched and stretch there. And in doing so, you're inviting more energy into those cells. And as a whole, you're probably going to feel a lot more energized afterwards as well. So move the body on all planes. Move it in the ways that it was always designed to do. And just play around with it. Play around with, well, what movement does really give me energy? Is it dancing? Is it gardening? Is it, I don't know, horse riding? And do those things, because they're the things that are going to give you energy in the long run. And the last thing, and the thing that I'm most passionate about talking about, is the simplest way to get more energy, and a reason why you might be feeling so tired, is because we're just literally starving ourselves of oxygen. And we do this by taking really short, shallow breaths, which are, you know, in the chest area, and never actually filling up our lungs to their full capacity. And we need to fill up our lungs to their full capacity to get enough oxygen to fuel the cells to do their thing. And if there was one thing I could teach everyone to do in the whole world, it would be to breathe properly, to breathe right down into the belly, into the diaphragm, because not only does it evoke the relaxation response, and we can't be in fight or flight when we have the relaxation response evoked. It's a physiological thing. But B, just at a cellular level, having more oxygen in the system is beautiful, and it can really make us get that mental clarity, the physical benefits as well. And it's just so cheap, so easy, and something that is available to us 24 hours a day. So if there's one thing you take from today's webinar, and there's one tool that you really want to practice, I would recommend that it is this idea of getting more oxygen through deep diaphragmatic breathing. And the way to do that is to practice. So the diaphragm is a big muscle that sits underneath our ribs. And you can tell the difference between a short, shallow breath, which is only filling up the top of our lungs, and a deeper breath, which goes right down into the belly, just by observing how you're breathing. And as you're sitting here now, you might even just want to try breathing 2 or 3 deep breaths, really deep, right down into the tummy. And as you're exhaling, letting the shoulders just drop away from the ears. And as you're feeling that, just notice the difference. The difference between having that relaxation response evoked and the difference between when we do short, shallow breathing, which is not giving us the oxygen we need. And a lot of the work I do with my clients is around mindfulness and using the power of the breath. So explore that. You know, there's loads of great breath awareness meditations online. There's also seminars on it. Just play around with breathing and see if just by breathing more and breathing in a deeper way, in a more relaxed way, we're able to just cure some of that fatigue that you might be feeling. As a side note, deep breathing, you know, also brings us back to the present moment. So it enables us to stop ruminating on all those negative thoughts and just be coming back to be present. And I know that a lot of the things my clients say is, I just wish I was more present in relationships. So do 3 deep breaths the next time you want to be present, you really want to be there, and you really want to connect with someone. And it makes a really big difference. I have clients that go into toilets before meetings, big work meetings, to do some deep breathing as well. And they find it really, really helpful. It's completely game-changing in terms of stress. It's also game-changing in terms of energy. So step 1, learning to understand what your body's telling you. What we've got is, have you eaten the right fuels? Do you need a glass of water? Need to take some deep breaths? Do you need to move your body, or do you need to get outside? And if all of those things are met, and you're still feeling tired, like all the time, consistently, chronically tired, then have a look at working with, you know, your health practitioner around where the deficiencies might be playing a role. I've talked a little bit about why true well-being can't be found at the bottom of that green smoothie. And the truth of it is this, that a lot of us want the external fixes to make a big difference in our lives. So we join the gym and we change our diet, and all those things, you know, do make us feel better temporarily, and they're great. But unless we address the root cause of the anxiety, the root cause of the ill health, the root cause of the fatigue, then those things aren't really ever going to enable us to truly heal and move towards the goals that we want in our lives. So by all means, drink the green smoothie, but don't focus on diet and exercise alone, because unless we're addressing why the energy is going out, unless we're addressing stress and anxiety and rumination and thinking patterns and mindset, then these things are never going to be able to do what you want them to do. I hope I've made that clear. I want to talk quickly about stress, because the number one cause of fatigue that I see is stress. And we really focus on kind of the external things going on in our lives, but we don't really focus on what's happening internally in terms of how stress and anxiety is affecting our functioning and really making us feel tired. For example, it's like when we have a computer program, we have too many things saved on our hard drive, and the computer starts running slow. If we have so many things going on in our mind, so many anxieties, so much worry, so much perception that things are stressful, it is going to, over time, overactivate the fight or flight response and lead us to feel really, really, really exhausted, mentally and physically, because there is no difference between the body and mind. Everything that happens in the mind has a repercussion in the body. If stress was a disease that could be tested and there was a pill for it, there would be a multi-billion-dollar industry around it. But because stress is something that is often up to the individual's perception, it seems like it's too hard. It seems like it's easier to buy into the fact that, you know, that wellness is at the bottom of the green smoothie than actually address what is happening in our minds to make us think that things are really stressful, that we have to be worried all the time, we have to be rushing all the time. So this diagram just shows the effects of stress on the body, and I just want to highlight some of these things. You know, the effect on the immune system. There's such a reduced ability to fight and recover from illness when we're stressed. And when I talk about stress, I'm talking about the overactivation of the fight or flight response. So when we feel constantly like we need to be rushing, when we feel like we can't cope with the pressures or the perceived pressures around us. And it's really coming from an internal mental thinking pattern. Stomach cramps, reflux and nausea, so a lot of digestive symptoms can be related to stress, loss of libido in the reproductive system, but also hormonal upsets, and then the mood issues. You know, we know when we're stressed, we're irritable, we're angry, you know, we've got a lack of energy, we can't concentrate. And so fatigue, like trying to address fatigue and not looking at stress is almost like filling up a leaky bucket. We have to look at our inner workings of our mind, and we have to look at the pressures, both perceived and actual, that are on us. So this is about the second step in your fatigue elimination plan, learning how to identify your specific energy leaks. And this is a much more kind of simple framework than necessarily getting into the depths of what nutrients you need and, you know, and how to correct some of that cellular functioning. This is a very simple analogy. It's the bank account analogy. So Whatever we put in, we're able to take out. And this is not a credit card, so we can't keep taking energy out without putting energy back in to our bodies. And we all know intuitively that there are certain activities, tasks, even relationships in our lives that make us feel enlivened. And when I say enlivened, it's a physical feeling in the body when you leave an activity or a task or a person and you feel really energized and expansive, and you feel like you have more energy than when you went in. And then we all know those tasks and situations and people and relationships where we leave and we're like, I am exhausted. So some people, for example, find emailing really exhausting. Other people find emailing really energizing. The truth of the matter is, getting to the heart of what activities, tasks, and things that you have in your life are giving you energy versus those that are taking it away is going to be the simplest framework to start addressing any fatigue issues that you might be feeling. So I want you to just think about right now, what are the things in your life that are making you feel energized at the moment? Do you have, regular self-care practices, for example, that make you feel good? Do you have relationships that give you energy? Do you find work fulfilling? Does that give you energy? Or do you feel like there are more things that are taking your energy away, taking energy outside of you than you have things that are enlivening you? Just think about that for a second. And the things that feel depleting are those that, like, really in your body you feel a little bit resentful about. And you feel like constricted and there's kind of an anxiety there. So just tune into your body, what it's telling you when you think about certain tasks or people or activities. And then the question becomes, are you in debt? So are there more things in your life that are causing an energetic drain or an energy leak than there are that you're putting it back in? Because at the end of the day, we can't keep taking out what we don't put back in. And each one of us have our own specific blueprint to what gives us energy. For me, it's been outside and being in nature. That really gives me energy. Certain relationships really give me energy. Certain work tasks, when I'm working from a point of teaching and creativity, like doing webinars like this, that gives me energy. When I'm doing my finances, that doesn't give me energy, but I have to do it. It's not about removing all the things that we don't like doing. It's about actually asking ourselves whether we could invite more balance into our lives, knowing that by doing so, not only are we going to address our fatigue, we're going to be a much better human to be around as well, for our kids, for our partners, for our friends, for our work colleagues. And we don't prioritize putting things back into the bank because we have this mentality that it's just going to be never ending. It is going to be like the credit card. The cash is just going to keep coming out of the ATM. But at the end of the day, and trust me on this because I've been there, that point comes where you can't take any more out. And I would hate for anyone else to ever have to get to that point or through that point. So think about your energy bank account. There's a really great worksheet on my website which I have shared the link. So it's beyondbeingwell.com/resources. And the worksheet is called Energy Balance. And you can download that. And that's just a way of working through this question. What's giving you energy and what's draining? And really going through that exercise can help provide some clarity around, wow, I really need to get some more things into my life that give me energy at the most core level. So the top 6 energy leaks that I see among my clients, and they might not be what you expect. That's not what they eat. It's not even necessarily what they're doing for their jobs or the fact that they're looking after kids. The top 6 energy leaks that I see is, number 1, the pressure, expectations, and self-criticism that are running around in our heads. I just want you to think about that for a second. The number 1 energy drain is not external. The number 1 energy drain that I see is when we have so much pressure and expectation on ourselves in our own heads that we drive ourselves beyond our physical limits. Not only that, but when we have these background patterns of anxiety running around in the back of our head, it's making the system slower. The self-criticism thing is huge. If we're constantly telling ourselves we're not good enough, that is exhausting. That is exhausting. So think about how these energy leaks apply to you. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. The second energy leak I see among clients is anxiety and rumination, negative thinking patterns, and constant worrying. Mental exhaustion absolutely promotes physical exhaustion, and we can't just constantly keep drawing on energy to fuel our brains when we're thinking about negative things which are having a toll on our physical bodies. So rumination on what possibly could go wrong, what that person might have thought of me, all of the stuff about not living in the present moment, that causes an energy drain, and a massive one. The third one is perception of external stresses. So how we perceive our work environment, for example, how we deal with crises. So a lot of people say to me, the reason I'm so tired is because I have all of this stuff going on outside me. Like I have a really stressful job, and I have kids, and I have a partner that's not supportive, and, all of these things. But the reality is they're still your perceptions of those external things rather than the external things themselves that are causing the energy leak. If we changed the mindset, reframed it a little bit, and we saw those external stresses as being able to help us grow and giving us things, they wouldn't be as draining as they are when we turn them into these huge negative things, obstacles. So again, like the top three are completely internal energy leaks. The fourth one, maintaining stressful relationships. So a lot of people talk about how draining certain relationships are in their life, and we wonder why we're still in them. And I'm not saying it's about clearing out your friends or not hanging around certain people. I'm saying it's being conscious of how you feel when you leave those interactions. The fifth one is what I call the martyr mentality, something that I had and still occasionally get, is, I have to be of service to everyone. This idea that we can constantly keep giving energy to everyone else because that's what's expected of us. And there's no time to fill my energetic cup back up, to look after myself, because everyone else needs me. Everyone else needs you in a way that everyone else only needs you as much as you're willing to give. So if you're over giving constantly and not filling up your own cup, then that's a really massive cause of fatigue. And then the sixth one is often a deeper kind of dissonance between the life we feel we should be living and that of which we are. So a lot of, stress around career, we're not doing what we should be doing, we're not living our purpose. Those things create huge energy leaks because we're basically going to work, for example, for 8 hours a day, doing something that takes our energy away rather than gives us energy. So I want you to think about now, applying the energy bank account idea to your broader life, and have a think about whether any of those energy leaks are what you see. Your own energy leaks are going to be specific to you. So have a think about it. Maybe it is diet. Maybe it is eating too much processed food, and that's your biggest energy leak. That's okay. But it's really about tuning into what you need. Here I go again, just saying we cannot give from an empty cup. Cannot. Have to fill it back up in a way that is going to make sense for you. I've talked already about the body and mind not being separate. So just really getting to grips with this idea that things happening in your mind are absolutely having an impact on your body in the physical sense, and that addressing them is going to really help you move beyond the fatigue. And I always use this boat analogy in my webinars because I find it a really simple way to explain what I'm talking about. Addressing the physical side of things. So diet, exercise, making sure we feel physically good in our bodies is like making sure that if we're going sailing, that the boat is in good working order. There are no holes, the wood's good, it's polished. It's really a seaworthy vessel. And that's what we're doing when we're dressing those things. And that's why it's really important. We do need a functioning body. We need a functioning boat. But we can't always control the weather. And if we could, having a functioning boat would be fine. But the reality is that life is going to throw things in our way that we can't always predict and we can't always control. And having a good enough boat or a good enough body is not going to enable us to sail through. What we really need to learn is how to sail the ship properly, how to understand the weather. Because if we do that, and that is addressing the mindset stuff, that's addressing the stress and the anxieties and the perceptions. If we work on that stuff and the energetic drains in our lives, it makes it so much easier for that boat to sail. Hope that makes sense. We can change the way we think and respond, but we can't change the weather. So here are some suggested behaviors for rectifying energy leaks. Because now you've identified some of your leaks, you're thinking, what can I do about them? So depending on what they are, self-care, valuing yourself, spending time filling up your cup, that's really important. But find things that resonate with you. Don't just do what everyone else is doing. Find a self-care routine, which might be for you reading a book and having a bath. You don't have to spend money on massages. Self-care is about constantly valuing yourself in small little ways. And around the relationships thing, setting boundaries around if there are energetic relationships that are draining you, how much time am I going to give to those? Mindfulness meditation is a beautiful technique because it enables us to become aware of our thinking patterns, aware of our anxieties in a non-judgmental way, which helps us move through them. Another behavior is, starting to address the underlying belief of not being good enough, which creates so much stress, so much anxiety, and so much fatigue. And there are ways I work with my clients around that particular tools that can really help. So finding things that fill up your soul. Do you love craft? And are you doing it right now? Are you nurturing the creative side that gives you energy? Are you connecting with people that really make you happy and laugh? Find things that make you feel joyous and expansive. My recommendation is to learn to understand your inner world. Reduce your reliance on kind of external things. And by that I mean stop looking around for all the things that are going to make you feel better and just start focusing internally on, what's going on in the mind that might be causing fatigue here, and can I be compassionate to it, and can I move through that? Just really practical things like changing your news feed on social media. I find watching news, for example, really energetically draining. It really affects me. And as an empath, I think a lot of people understand that, over empathizing with people. So changing your news feed on your Facebook, for example, so you're not seeing constantly bad news, you're also seeing good news. It's a really beautiful way of starting to work with these different energies, the energies that make us feel expansive and the energies which deplete us. And then, there's this whole step around starting to take actions to realign, what you do on a day-to-day basis with what your deeper values are. And for that, you really need to create some space to reconnect with what does make you happy, what does make you energized, what does make you joyous, because energy comes when we're doing things we love, and energy comes when we're living life according to what's really important to us. We're not constantly depleting it because trying to live this life that doesn't really align with us. And I want to, on that note, outline how I work with my clients on overcoming anxiety and energy issues. I have a program called Spark Up. It's called the Roadmap to Reignition. Really about finding that spark that we all have and relighting it. It's a personalized 3-month coaching program for women who are ready to banish fatigue, overwhelm, and anxiety. And we also focus a lot on getting rid of the self-criticism, which can make us feel so exhausted. So the program itself includes 6 one-on-one fortnightly coaching sessions, includes 3 pre-recorded training sessions, video sessions, and they're on the body, the mind, and the soul. So we really cover the physical stuff as well as the internal mental stuff. And there's unlimited email support and workbook and worksheets as well throughout the program. This is how the program looks. Month 1 is the body stuff. So we look at intuitive eating and we look at movement. And we really focus on what you can do to start bringing some more energy into your life on a day-to-day basis. Second module in the month 2 is around the mind stuff, and that's where I teach mindfulness. And we really start to look at how can we evoke the relaxation response more so that we feel a little bit less anxious and a little bit more energized throughout the day. In month 3, we get really into the nitty-gritty. What makes your soul sing? What can you be doing in terms of taking steps to realign your career with your deeper purpose? And also the relationship stuff. It's a really comprehensive program that clients that are currently doing it absolutely love, because it's a combination of teaching the tools which you can practice at home with coaching in a really individualized way. So working through exactly what your obstacles are to living the life that you really deserve, a calm and confident and beautifully energized life. So the cost of the program at the moment is $12.97, or just 3 monthly investments of $4.47. But I wanted to, as a Christmas gift for all of you on the call and those watching the replay afterwards, offer you a 10% discount on the whole program if you mention you were on this call. So imagining what your life might look like if you had more energy. Imagine what your life would look like if someone was there giving you permission to live a life according to what you needed. And I have to be honest here in saying that I listened to a lot of webinars like this, when I was looking for answers, and I would get to this point where they would pitch this idea to me in the program, and I would be like, yeah, it seems like a lot of money, and I don't really know if I need help because there's all this information out there. I should be able to do it on my own. Let me tell you that I tried doing it on my own, and then I got a coach, my first coach, and the difference that it made in terms of how fast I was able to work towards my goals. But not only that, I needed someone to acknowledge me and give me permission to look after myself that I couldn't give myself at that time. And I needed someone to reflect back to me what I was telling them about what I needed to do. I needed someone to work through all the muddle in my brain with me to get clear on what behaviors I even needed to work towards. But most of all, I needed someone to tell me to stop being so harsh on myself. And I get really emotional when I talk about this, because I feel like if I had have invited that coach into my life a little bit earlier and actually been vulnerable enough to ask for help, my life would have been drastically different for a few months of my life there. And I now have 2 coaches, and I can't tell you what investing in yourself, the flow and effects of that can do. So I really want to invite you with the 10% discount just to book your discovery session with me now. There's absolutely no obligation. The link is on the side of the webinar page. It says schedule your free discovery session, and it's also in the chat box at the second one there. It says free 45-minute discovery session. It's just 45 minutes for you to really get clear on what you need and what things are going to work for you. Cool. Let's keep going. We're nearly at the end of the training, and I hope you've finished your lunch or your dinner by now. Let's get into what your personalized fatigue elimination plan is going to look like. So we've been through some of this. Step 1, I hope you're writing this down. Identify what your body is telling you. Really get deep into it and actually spend some time asking it what it is telling you. Why are you so tired? And the answers will start to come. So asking that question, then writing down whatever comes, great way to connect with what your body might be telling you. Use the framework that I talked about at the start in terms of You know, do I need water? Do I need food? Use that as a starting point, but really ask why you're so tired, and you might be surprised what answers come up. Step 2, and I talked about this, what energy leaks can be removed or changed. So what energy leaks can be removed from your life which are draining you? How much time are you spending on social media? Is that draining you or enlivening you? How much time are you spending on emails? How much time do you spend giving energy to other people that don't reciprocate? How much time do you spend giving? What energy leaks can be changed or removed? Step 3, now identify some behaviors that you think can fill up that energetic cup. So if you are giving out a lot of energy, what can you do to give yourself some energy back? Is it lying down for 10 minutes a day and doing some deep breathing? Is it catching up with a really awesome friend for coffee once a week and going for a walk? Is it scheduling a massage once a month? What can we do to just start inviting some more balance back into our lives so we're not constantly giving out? Step 4 is based on those 2 things, so the energy leaks as well as the activities that you've brainstormed. Step 4 is setting some really compassionate, beautiful goals around what you want to achieve. And the goals might be, you know, in a couple of months' time, I'd love to be drinking more water because I know that makes me feel energized. In a couple of months, I'd like to be spending less time on social media and more time reading because that gives me energy. In a couple of months, I'd love to be moving my body for 5 minutes every morning, stretching out those creaks that I feel in my hips. And don't give yourself any out here. Give yourselves enough space that you can absolutely succeed. Don't set rigid goals which are going to make you feel anxious and stressed. And then the last step of your personalized fatigue elimination plan, once you've got all of those in place, is based on those compassionate goals you set in step 4, choose one small little habit you're going to start working on in the next fortnight. So it could be drinking a glass more water a day. It might be trying to eat more vegetables with every meal. Eating vegetables with every meal is a great one to get more energy. It might be that once a month you're going to do craft. But find one tiny little small habit that you can start working on in the next fortnight. And that, my friends, is your personalized fatigue elimination plan. I want you to know that you know the answers to this. You just need to create some space to connect with it and really be brave enough and courageous enough to look at why you might be feeling so tired. And by being on this call, I congratulate you because you're already halfway there. So now it's time for some questions and answers. So go ahead and put anything, any observations, questions into the Q&A box. I'll be having a look at it. And I just want to say that if you do ask a question, you're courageous enough to ask a question today, I would love to offer you a 60-minute free coaching session with me to talk about your fatigue elimination plan. And I'm giving that to anyone that wants to really get some answers around this because it's good for my business, good for my karma, it gives me energy. And I really am passionate about sharing these tools and tips with people, moving the conversation beyond conventional health and fitness models. So type any questions you have in the chat box now. And at the end, I'll give you my email address. You can simply just email me and say, I'm ready for my free 60-minute session, and I'll book that in for you straight away. Something about holiday giving, it's got me in the mood. So any questions at all? If not, you know, I really hope that you spend some time going through that fatigue elimination plan for yourself and really working through what is going to work for you and what you already know. Spend some time on it. You know, these things don't come easily and they don't come quickly, but you know, if you spend some time checking in with what your body's telling you, you'll know the answer intuitively as to what you need to do. So if anyone has any questions, now is the time to ask them. For those of you who need to get going, I really look forward to hearing from you about how you found today's session. Join the conversation on my Facebook page at facebook.com/beyondbeingwell. And I wish you a beautiful, conscious and present holiday season. This might be the last webinar I run for the year. And yeah, keep in touch. If there's any questions. Yeah. I love that someone's just written, I really like the use of the word expansive to describe how one feels when doing things which are energy filling. Yeah, the word expansive really resonates with me too. And it helps you to differentiate, you know, how different those feelings are. So I'm really glad that that resonated with you. I'm going to put my email address into the chat box now. So those of you who are on the call, but maybe a little bit shy to ask a question, I would love to speak with you on the phone. So send me an email and just say I was on the call, would love to have someone help me with my personalized elimination plan, and we'll go from there. There's no more questions. I've loved sharing this with you. Thanks for being here and showing up and prioritizing yourself. I really appreciate it. Here we go. We've got another question. Please describe the martyr mentality a bit more. Yeah, sure. So it's around this idea, and I think a lot of women have it, that we need to look after everyone else before we look after ourselves. And I know specifically for me, I worked in the not-for-profit sector for a long time, and there was a lot of this idea around giving being kind of perceived to be really great, and that we didn't need to necessarily look after ourselves because we were getting enough from looking after everyone else. And what I've found since then is I've looked a little bit deeper into this, and what I often find is that there are two things that go hand in hand with this mentality. The first is a deeper underlying belief that we need to give in order to receive, and that we need to give more constantly in order to be valued and acknowledged, which comes back to a deeper seated belief around the fact we might not be good enough on our own without giving. So that's one side of it. And then the other side is guilt when we're not constantly doing or giving to others. And they're kind of the two sides of the martyr mentality that I find in clients and certainly in myself, is this idea that to be valued and worthy, we need to give more than we have. And the problem with that is that it leaves us depleted, overwhelmed, exhausted, and we can't really give from that place anyway. So we end up resenting people, or resenting work, or resenting situations wherein we feel people are trying to take that energy away from us. So I hope that makes sense, and I would love to chat with you more about it and go through specifically whether you feel like that resonates with you or not. So send me an email and let's catch up on the phone and go through your fatigue elimination plan, because it's a really interesting, multifaceted thing, this need to constantly give. And it can often come from a lot of different places. And I'm not saying giving is bad. Giving is wonderful, and especially when it's coming from a place of wholeness and love for ourselves, giving is incredible. But we can give so much more when we are filling up our own cup. That makes sense. Any other questions before we finish up? Just as a side note, you can find loads more resources and webinars on my site, beyondbeingwell.com. And I am offering places in the 3-month program for a couple more months. And then after that, I'm going to be having a baby. So I'm shifting my programs a little bit after that. So now's your kind of last chance to get in on the 3-month program for a little while. But definitely stay in touch, you know, and watch the website for more updates and retreats and workshops and things like that as well. If there's no other questions, I have so loved sharing this with you. I really hope you have a beautiful day, and I look forward to hearing you all via email or Facebook. And you can rewatch this, obviously. I'll send out the replay link and share it with friends if anything resonated with you as well. Okay, lots of love, everyone. Have a beautiful Christmas, and I'll see you soon. Bye.